Blog Talk Radio. The Aha Moments radio show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of high-frequency living worldwide. I'm Mari, and I am so excited. We are moving forward into our fall season. I know I did a few shows this summer, and now we are back. I'm going to do my very best to have a weekly show. My schedule is packed because our 5D Academy starts back into session now as well. And I'm super excited about that, but the schedule is crazy, and I'm going to definitely make every effort to get a show done each week. I haven't picked out a specific day, so I'll be sending it out as a podcast for the time being, but if we decide as we get a little bit further into the fall that a set day and time, like a live show, makes sense, then we'll add that. So just keep your eyes on your inbox. We'll be making announcements about that. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about a very, very important topic, which is having your 5D guidance blocked. And it's very important because if it is, then life is definitely harder. You're not kind of meant to be operating with your 3D mind just alone. We kind of signed up when we came here to have access to all of our energetic 5D abilities that we would normally have if we weren't in a body. We signed up to have those fully intact while we are here in this lifetime. So if you are having blocked messages, and we're going to talk about what that looks like, how to know if your messages are being blocked, then things are definitely harder. You're definitely over-revving. You're probably overworking. And one of the things that we really focus on in the Academy, the very first thing that I focus on is getting you in tune and in touch with your higher self through the full engagement of what we call your energetic communication system. And that is our first stop. So if you've been, kind of dabbling around in manifesting, because that's where people kind of start, seem to start, what I've seen over the years is people seem to start in this journey with either Reiki, like they go into the healing direction, or they go into the psychic direction. They want to be a psychic, they want to be intuitive, that type of thing. I can say that being a psychic and psychic abilities has nothing to do with 5D fluency. Your ability to predict the future or to predict an outcome is not part of the suite of frequency of energetic abilities that you were born with, the energetic senses that you were born with. That's the use for them, but it's not the, it's not the backbone. So when we talk about the 5D Academy and our curriculum, it has nothing to do with psychic development, it has nothing to do with mediumship, it has nothing to do with predicting things for other people. What it has to do with is, what we really focus on is all of those senses that you were actually born with. So no one's without them. It is not, I have to have a special gift to do 5D work. It's giving you access to the rest of you. And so if you don't have the communication with your higher self, if you don't know how to perceive that portion of you, if you don't know how to initiate messages to it, if you don't know how it initiates messages to you, if you don't know how to interpret the messages that are coming your way, and if you don't understand the various ways that it reaches out to you through your environment, through other people, through signs and symbols and synchronicities, which people definitely misinterpret quite a bit, your life is just really, really slower than and inefficient, if you will. So once you do have those skills and once you are fluent, and that's what we focus on a lot, once you are fluent, and it doesn't take long because 17 seconds of frequency-based focus is equivalent to 3 hours of physical work. So when you are putting some time, care, and attention into being educated and reminded of all of the abilities that you have, and then practicing those with intention and focus and applying them to realize things that really matter to you, then that fluency comes up very quickly because you're really getting kind of the operating manual for what's already been there, right? This is not a matter of, oh, do I have to connect with some otherworldly being and maybe I could do this or maybe I can't. It would be like saying, well, I wonder if I'll be able to blink my eyes or not. You know, you came in with blinking eyes, right? And so you don't have to, worry that it's not there. But if it wasn't kind of on automated pilot, it would be, if you didn't know how to operate your eyes, that would be a problem, right? So it's very, very similar to that. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about today as I was contemplating, like, how do we want this to start the fall, get you in touch, get you aware of what blocked guidance looks like. How does it show up in your world? So if you're tired of being confused, if you're having a lot of delays and you feel like you've been suffering from things being delayed, right? You have a vision for yourself and it just seems like it's always put on the back burner because immediate, kind of stressy things of the day get in the way. Lots of frenetic kind of junk things, I call them, get in the way. If you're tired of getting cryptic signs and half messages and inaccurate next steps, then a lot of times when you have had inaccurate next steps, these little half messages or just the cryptic signs, you lose your confidence. So not only do you start kind of at ground zero of not being fluent, but then you also go backwards into even worse because now you're having consequences from that, and then we have a tendency to sort of, wall up against it, right? We start to get skeptical. We start to get anxious. We start to get confused, and then we kind of fall back on our logic. Now, remember, there's nothing wrong with logic. It's not your negative ego trying to teach you lessons and all that a lot of places say. But your logic, your analytical mind, what I call your mental mind, the 3D mind, is really there to focus on what you've seen before, what it's seen before, and what it's seen other people go through before. It's there to focus on helping you to logisticize your physical world. But it's not there to give you the creative inspiration. It's not there for new ideas. It's not there for the new inventions or the new ways of doing things. It really can't do that job without the higher self. Your higher self is really meant to do the inspiring, the downloading to you of solutions, of new directions, of new ideas, to channel through conversations for you. Like when I get on a call with a client, or when I get, like even when I'm interviewing people for the academy, I don't really have a set agenda. I have a connection with my higher self and their higher self. And between the four of us, their higher self, my my physical self, and the client's physical self, we, as is that sort of conglomeration, then we are led through a conversation as opposed to thinking and hitting certain points and manipulating or, orchestrating, right? When you're feeling guided, when you're feeling led, you're plugged into a much bigger source of information, to an infinite source. So now you're not as pigeonholed into this less alternative, or to smaller solutions, or to things that aren't just, generally aren't going to work. So guidance is blocked. It'll look like this. So you'll be, a lot of times what we have is, I call it brain fog, where you kind of like, 1 minute you're talking, the next minute you don't really know what you were talking about to begin with. It also will lead to, like I said, anxiety. It'll lead to analysis paralysis, where you start to feel like you're just hitting up against the wall. It's like, that there's a certain number of pieces that you have, but then there's pieces that you don't have, and then you can't move forward. So your higher self is trying to get to you, but what's happening is your 3D mind will start to spin, and they'll start to go over and what we call perseverate, right? Over and over again against, it's like looking for something that you've lost in the house and you keep going back to the same place, but the answer isn't there. The thing isn't there. So that will happen. That can lead to anxiety. That can lead to self-doubt. The self-doubt is the poison. It truly, truly is. And it's unnecessary because your higher self is on 24/7. It is available to you without being in a meditation, without being in some kind of trance or some sort of Zen state. Good to have access, to a meditative state when you're getting started, in the sense of just sort of settle down so that you can discern what's my mental mind, what's anxiety, what's the voice of my higher self, what's the advice, and then how do I feel as that advice is coming in from my higher self? How do I feel as that message is coming in from my higher self? And then from there, you can, together with your 3D mind and your 5D frequency abilities, then you can make those decisions. And they usually come in as a sense of knowing. And they will always have a physical component too. So when you're getting that message from your higher self, generally you will have you'll first perceive it through what we call your 4 clairs, whether it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, those energetic senses. So it's your energetic senses of let's say clairvoyance is your energetic sight, clairaudience is your energetic hearing, clairsentience is your energetic feeling, and claircognizance is your energetic knowing. So your first stop that your higher self will go to is that. And you might get a quick vision, or you might hear a quick word, or you might feel a quick sensation in your solar plexus, or you might get a quick download of a little knowing, like I know something is, I know I should pay attention to this. And then it will switch over to more of a verbal, sort of connected 3D type of message. So you might hear a download in your head of do this to this to this. You might hear lyrics of a song. If you're not fluent, when you are fluent, for instance, myself, my clients who are fluent now, we'll get a full download message. We'll get a full conversational type of contextual message, right? The sentences and the whole thing that you can actually write down in your notebook, or you can record the conversation in your voice memo. I have probably 1,000 voice memos now with all my different channelings from it, personal channelings. And that's really wonderful because then you create your own channel of guidance, your own catalog of guidance versus, kind of going to psychics and mediums and dealing with all their filters and they're predicting this and you're predicting that and your 3D mind is getting all caught up in the predictions and just giving your power away into that process. This is taking your power back. This is no middleman. This is from you to the rest of you, from your 3D self, the portion of you that's in body, to your 5D self, to your higher self, the portion of you that's connected to the portion of you that's in the body, but it remains outside of the body to help you to navigate the physical world. So when you have the message come in, it comes in through your 4 clairs first, then you'll start to get maybe a sign, symbol, synchronicity to let you know that there's a bigger message waiting, to listen up, that contextual message is there to be had by you, right? And then I call it the finishers. You have a finisher, generally. The finisher is some sort of subsequent sign after you've gotten the message and you've, let's say, written it down or you've recorded into your voice memos. Then you will get some sort of sign saying that, yes, that was so. Usually your environment, your higher self will go out into the environment. You'll have somebody mention something to you, or you'll see, let's say, you'll be kind of led to a particular interview, or an ad will come up on Facebook or something. Some sort of message will come to you to reinforce the message that you received, the conversation that you received, so that your 3D mind says, oh, wow, okay, that's the right direction. So your higher self will never leave you hanging, even though people think it does. It does not. And let's say you're starting to get a message, and this is one of the things I talk about in the Academy. Let's say you're starting to get a message, and you get distracted, and then all of a sudden it stops. You can go back in and say, can you start over? Can you repeat the message? Can you remind me what you were saying? And then you want to make sure you get a notebook and take it down, right? I've had messages start to come in while I was driving my car, driving somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good, but I don't have the time. I don't have my hands free to be able to start my recorder on my voice on my phone. And I said, can you bookmark that? Can you bring that to my attention again? And it does. So this is really creating kind of a Batman and Robin conversational relationship from your 3D self to your higher self. And what's very nice is that you can initiate the conversation from you as your 3D self to your higher self. So you can kind of ring that phone, or your higher self can initiate a conversation from it to you, right? So your higher self, the way it'll initiate is usually you'll get some sort of sign, a symbol, synchronicity, or some sort of knowing, some sort of messenger that will say something that, piques your interest. Your body then will let you know, oh, that's something bigger. You'll get goosebumps. And I know a friend of mine was having a baby, and I got a message, and I said it to her, and I just got covered in chills, and she got covered in chills. She was 2,000 miles away in another state, but she got covered with chills at the same time. That was a knowing. It was like all of our higher selves were communing, and then the body sort of light up. And that's why we get the goosebumps. That's why, your hair will stand up. You'll get that whoosh, like feeling of butterflies in your solar plexus, that sense of knowing through your heart chakra, through your throat chakra, the solar plexus, that sort of channel of knowing through that part of your body. And there's a lot of different ways that your higher self will sort of reinforce or confirm for you, but your body is usually a part of that process. So once you get that message, then you want to start to take action on it so that the next steps come. A lot of times what happens, our messages are blocked because we haven't taken the first advice. So the first advice, you say, oh, that sounds interesting, or, oh, I don't know about that, or, whatever your 3D mind does to get in the way. And then you want more and more and more, but the more and more doesn't come because your higher self doesn't work like that. Your higher self gives you a directive, and then it waits for you to do that, and then it unfolds to the next thing. So in my book, I think in my book somewhere, I can't remember where I put it. Yeah, in my book somewhere, I had some diagrams, and it was, in our 3D world, the way that we're often, the way we focus is linear, right? We go on, ask Siri to give us directions, or have the navigation system in our car, and it gives us step by step, turn by turn. And that's before you even leave the house. You've got all the turn by turn directions, and you're going to get to your destination, and you can pick, whether you want less tolls or a longer route, or, a shorter route, or whatever. Then you have, but the higher self doesn't work like that. It doesn't give you like this roadmap all the way to the end and with this guaranteed success and like lay it out before you're supposed to take action. Higher self works like a mall map. So you get to the mall, you get to Macy's, you look for the mall map, and it says you are here. Now there's a big mall. It's a big mall, 670 stores. You can go anywhere you want, but you are here. And then if you want to go to JCPenney, then you have to turn right and go there, right? So you don't get the next step. You get the where you are at now, and then one step. And so that's how your higher self works. You'll get, you are here. Here's the next step. It may seem very disconnected to your ultimate goal, but it's the next step. And as soon as you take the next step, then it will unfold the next step after that. And then you'll take that step, and then it'll unfold. The faster you take what you feel led to take, where you get that whoosh feeling, where you get the goosebumps, and you say, oh, okay, that sounds a little strange logically, but, oh, gosh, it feels right. As soon as you get that, it feels right, you have to take that step in order to get the rest of it, to get the next step. The faster you take the step, the faster the next step comes in. And as you get fluent, and this is what I have for myself and what I've seen very much from my clients, as soon as you start to take the steps faster with a sense of knowing and trust in the unknown, the sooner the next step comes and it starts to flow. Right? So that's what being in flow is. People talk about it and they use it all kinds of ways. But being in flow is being fluent in the language of your higher self so that when it gives you a directive, then you can immediately, in that moment, take action. And then it gives you, based on that action, it gives you the next step. And then you take the next step. So it's a two-way, that's when they talk about co-creation. It's a two-way co-creative experience from you to you, from your embodied self to your higher self, to your expanded self. That expanded self is connected to the infinite intelligence. So that expanded self has all the power in the world, and in every galaxy, every dimension, every parallel reality, has all the power to support you and giving you the most efficient next step. And that's one of the other ways you can know if you're blocked or not, is if life feels very inefficient. If it feels like you're having to do things over and over again, feels like you're losing your way and you have to keep restarting, or you're giving up and you have a very long procrastination list and a very short action list, very long procrastination list and a very short action list, that's when you know your guidance is blocked. Now, one of the big things also to remember is your higher self doesn't just come in like kind of the religious version of God where, you know, you can only ask for a big favor if something really horrible is going on or you're birthing your baby. And, you know, and people perceive that, you know, God is only there for the big things, but those little micro decisions that we have to make each day, what should I eat for breakfast? What should I eat for lunch? Should I go this direction, you know, to get to the store or that direction? All those micro decisions. What should I wear? You know, should I call this person or not? Should I, you know, interview for this job or not? All those micro decisions are extremely important. And when you are fluent in the language of your higher self, you can have a conversation about those things. You don't need a third-party 3D person, like a psychic, to tell you what to do next, right? What you need is that two-way conversation with the portion of you to all of the infinite possibilities that knows all of the different directions and all of the different potentials of outcomes, and can get you to the most efficient one that's going to bring you the highest and greatest of the solutions and the highest, greatest joy and ease. What you want is joy and ease and efficiency and accuracy of solutions for yourself. Accuracy is probably a bad word as I think about it, because anything can be accurate depending on your point of view, right? But your higher self, what it does is it works with where you are right at this moment. So bag of tricks is fairly limited because you're not, let's say, fluent in your 5D self, right? So you're not fluent in your 5D dashboard, your 5D toolkit yet, and you're still very, very, very attached to your 3D way of life. Then your options are much less, right? They're very limited because you're still operating only in the physical world, only in the intellectual world, only in the analytical world, which is then limited to what you've seen before or what you've seen other people go through before. That's not connected to all those infinite possibilities. If you are sort of in that muck and mire, then your higher self has less vocabulary, if you will, to work with you, right? So it will kind of stay in your lane, get in your lane, in your world to help you to start to see a glimpse of the infinite experience, right? So you might get a synchronicity of something that you're like, whoa, that's different. Wait, what was that? You know, because it'll come down to your level to sort of get in there and at least give you a little sign. But as far as the bigger downloads, the bigger messages, it needs you to raise your vibration up to it. And that's where, you know, we get into the clearing and the cleansing and the centering and the various practices so that you can sort of set yourself up to be open to a more expanded base of communication, a more expanded vocabulary so that your 5D self can speak to you more directly and give you more information and more options. So it's kind of like if you were going to go to another country and your vocabulary is limited to, you know, hello, goodbye, and where's the bathroom. then the level of conversation that people can have with you in that country if they don't speak English is very limited, because your vocabulary is very limited, and your sentence structure and your ability to communicate in a more sophisticated way is too limited. So they have to sort of bring themselves down to you and say, okay, and maybe do charades or get an app or something like that. But if you go and you study before you go to that country, let's say you're going to Spain or Italy or Russia or whatever, and you study and you build out your vocabulary and you learn sentence structure and you learn how to speak in past tense and present tense and future tense, and you really start to get closer to fluency or fluent in that language, then the level of vocabulary, the level of conversation you can have will be entirely different. And when it comes to energetic conversations, which a lot of people don't even know there is such a thing, but I'm here to tell you there's a very big kaleidoscope of a world of frequency-based information that's ready to be translated into physical words for you if you would just open your heart, mind, and spirit. And when you do, the level of efficiency, the level of solutions, the level of, immediate guidance, not guidance that you have to wait on, but immediate guidance goes up exponentially. And when that happens, life really takes a different turn in a really good way. Because even on your bad days, your higher self doesn't turn off. So even on what you would perceive to be, a hard thing, there's something that comes up that's, out of nowhere, your higher self will get in there and say, okay, this way, do that. No, cancel that. Get out of there. I recently had a big mess with my horse trainer, and as a person, I really liked her, but I knew from a professional perspective she was really hurting my horse, and so I had to make some hard decisions, and I got really in my head about it, because there was a lot of moving parts. And there's logistics and where this place is located and who else could I go to, and everybody kind of all knows each other. And there's all kinds of politics and drama and everything. And I finally heard, and what I do is I tune in to a couple of places within my body that I know are specific to where I receive, energetic guidance. And, I also tune into what I call my channeling ear, the ear that helps me, where my guidance comes from. And I just said, what do I do? And I heard, ask your horse. And when I asked my horse, she was like, I can't stand this lady. Please take me out. And that was it. And then everything started to flow. So that was the guidance. Now, would you, if you were just a logical person, not an energetically fluent person, would you take that seriously? Maybe not. You'd be thinking more about the money and, what did this person do and the damage that's being done or whatever. But you wouldn't think on your own to ask your horse, to allow her energy, her frequency to weigh in on the decision. And she immediately said, I want out. She's hurting me. I want out. And so I pulled her out. And what was remarkable was in 24 hours, I had the whole thing set up because everything flowed in when I got out of my own head and I sunk down into what higher self had suggested. And I asked that one question and I got that knowing. So when you're fluent, you will not only get an answer, but you'll get a knowing energy around that answer. That's not something you can just say, okay, now I'm going to have knowing. That's something that takes practice and understanding of structures. So like if you said, without any support, any mentorship, any help, okay, I'm going to learn Spanish just because I'm thinking I'm going to learn Spanish. You're not going to learn Spanish. You're certainly not going to get fluent in it. You need instruction. You need support. You need ongoing conversations, right? You need to be actively engaged. You need somebody who's going to oversee that active engagement to say, yeah, no, that what you just said wasn't future tense, it was past tense, so it didn't land the way you would hope it would. It's not comprehensible. Now, when you do have that mentorship, when you do have that support, then fluency, you have these immersion programs. In corporate America, they used to send us to, if they wanted you to know Spanish so you could do work in Spanish, they'd send you to a Spanish immersion course where you weren't allowed to speak English for the next, week, right? And you get a lot more traction if you are fluent, a lot quicker fluency when you don't have another option to communicate a different way. And so that's what we're talking about when it comes to the Academy, is taking the time to immerse yourself in these senses so that you can come up out of it and have that efficiency, so that you can start to translate. A lot of people come and say, Mari, what's my messages, or what's my mission? Like, what should my mission be? And the first thing we focus on is your personal mission. What are personal missions? What are your personal missions? Do you want to be a mommy? Do you want to be a dad? Do you want to be a business owner? Different missions like that. But that's for your own personal gain. Do you want to be fit? Do you want to how do you want to read in the world? Like, how do you want the world to see you and perceive you as a person personally? And then when we get into our higher tier of work, into our elite tier level of the Academy, focus on your public mission. We focus on, okay, now I'm all filled up. I'm fluent in the language of my higher self. I'm fluent in all of my energetic abilities. I'm fluent in my multidimensional manifesting. I'm fluent now from the work in the Academy in what energetic infrastructure really is all about. I'm fluent in how to use parallel realities. I'm fluent in my energetic dashboard. Now I'm integrating with my physical world, my physical abilities, all of these 5D abilities. I've got this plethora of access to this expanded yet practical version of me. And now I have this overflow of frequency, this overflow of life force, this, the resources I need and have always wanted, even beyond what I thought I would need and want, because I'm in constant communication with my higher self, because I'm taking knowing action. I'm taking inspired action. I have the things that I want because I know how to manifest, and my manifesting works in record time. Now I'm able to give to others. Now I want to focus on my public mission, right? And the public mission is where you get into the practices of helping with healing, or you're, whether you're starting your own business or you're on the stock market doing things, whatever that public mission is, because the public mission does, when we talk about what's your mission, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go start your own Reiki business, or, that a mission can only be spiritual. A mission could be a nurse. You could be, a stockbroker helping people to build wealth. You could be, a contractor building homes or doing plumbing or whatever. But your public mission, your public facing thing is just that. It's there to come from a place where you're overflowing. So now you can stretch for others, right? And it doesn't feel like a stretch. What happens is when we're not fluent, and when we've gotten confused with the way religious practices have positioned, sort of martyring ourselves for other people, and that we should suffer, and then we're worthy of money if we've suffered for it, if we've, quote, paid our dues, all that kind of thing, it positions us to be giving from an empty bucket. I can't tell you how many, I call them weary light workers, have come to me, and they're exhausted. But the first thing they say is, well, if I had money, I'd help other people. I'm like, if you have money, you need to help yourself, and then build, and then help other people through generosity. You don't get the, head pat from the heavens or from your higher self because you're suffering, and now your higher self is going to go around that suffering and say, oh, she's suffering so much, let me give her, $1 million. It's not how it works, because then if you're suffering, you're not a vibrational match to $1 million. So it's very hard to get the $1 million if you're coming from a place of suffering and, well, I'm so dejected, and why does that person get it? She didn't really suffer for anything, and she got it because she's believing more in it. Because the frequency is more in alignment with it. If you think $1 million is going to make you a super happy person, and you go into it and you say, okay, how would I feel if I had $1 million and I'm so thrilled, I'm so this, I'm so that, and then you look at where you are now, if you're not thrilled and sort of already in that mindset, you're not a match to it. So it's important to fill up first. And in the Academy, we focus on our first year, because the program is a year-long program. We focus on the first year getting you your stuff, getting you first fluent in the language of your higher self, because manifesting is impossible if you're not getting the downloads from your higher self to tell you what your next steps are. Have you ever tried to manifest something? You do your vision boards, your meditations, your visualizing, and then you open your eyes and say, okay, how am I going to get that done? When is it going to happen? How am I going to do it? I don't know how I could get this done. Well, that's the part where your higher self, if you were fluent, weighs in and says, okay, here's the next step. Here's the step. Take the step. Okay, here's the next step. Take the step. Here's the next step. Take the step. When you're missing that language piece, then you have these vision boards, and they collect dust, and they end up in the bottom of a drawer, and you find them when you're moving out of your house. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah, look at that. Never got that. Oh, yeah, well, I kind of sort of got that, but, oh, man, it really didn't work out well, right? Because you didn't have the energetic fuel. You can come up with a 3D idea, but you need the energetic fuel to animate it for it to actually take hold and flourish and manifest in your world. So when you have those pieces in there, then you can start to count on your higher self as your partner, as your best business partner, your best relationship partner is your higher self. And then when you're filled up from that and you're feeling confident, generally I've seen it takes about a year, it can be sooner for sure, but it really, if you have the instruction, you actually know what you're working with, and you start to really dig in and you do the work, and you overlay it, you apply it to your real life situation. In about a year, what I found, 9 months to a year, people are really in a position where they're starting to have that flow. They're starting to feel filled up, so that when they have, and then they start to get those inspirational downloads, which your higher self will also send, of what the bigger mission is. So when you think about Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson and these big billionaires that have so much, they have so much that they can go and play with a space program and decide, oh, let's go to the moon and let's figure out a Tesla, or let's figure out something that's going to change the face of how society runs. They're not doing that, worrying about the light bill and, if they're going to be able to put food on the table, or, do they need a new muffler on the car? They're from a place of such surplus, such overflow that they can pull from their overflow to give to the world. That's what philanthropists do. They get so much abundance that they now are so filled up personally that they can, with a lot of joy and no suffering, they can offer huge amounts of focus or insight or resources or, whatever out to the world, however that looks, whether it's from being an angel investor or an individual sponsor to running a charity or to building a business that gives, creates jobs or, offers services that make entrepreneurs' lives easier or health, building people's health, whatever those things are. If you want to be a chiropractor or a school teacher or a mason or a hairdresser, the best version of any of those will come when you are filled up yourself. And those are the people that, there's some hairdressers that are just miserable and they just can't keep anybody in their chairs. And then there's other hairdressers where you have to wait on a waiting list to get in their chair. Some of that is talent, but a lot of that, whether they know it or not, is a connection. And instead of it being a haphazard thing where it just seems like it's dumb luck, that success is dumb luck, when you're fluent in the language of your higher self, when you're fluent in your 5D abilities, it's no longer dumb luck. It's a plan, operational plan that you can count on. It's an ongoing, in-the-moment conversation. Living in the present moment won't feel so crazy when you have the connection. You hear all this, oh, just be present, just be present. You're like, yeah, but what happens if in 3 weeks I can't pay my mortgage and I don't know what direction to take, and oh, is he going to leave there, and when is he going to text me, and all that kind of thing. It's very hard. The present moment for a lot of people is the most painful moment. They like to sit in the future. Oh, someday I'm going to hit the lottery and I'm going to get all this stuff. Or they live in the past. Oh, back in, 75, I went through this. Back in 82, I went through that. Oh, in 97, oh my gosh, that was the worst. And 2022 or 2019, oh boy, and they live in the past. Or they say, oh, back in my heyday, and they live off the stories of the past. And what gets even worse is when they live off of other people's stories. Oh, my friend, you know what she does? And then they completely disempower, disengage, and unplug themselves. So your higher self is there to help you to fill up, and you should be your first priority. And when you do, when you are, then you have that surplus. That starts to fill, and then you can start to offer out, but replenish as you do. So I know now at this stage in my career, when I'm teaching, I'm replenishing. I'm getting replenished as I go, which is a very different thing than in very, very early years where I would, go to a psychic fair and I would do, 100 readings or something insane for just hours and hours and hours, no water, maybe I have a little water, but no lunch, blah, blah, blah. And it just felt like I was suffering. Other people were happy, but I came out and I just thought it was flatline. I couldn't even want to talk to another person for a month after some of those psychic fairs. And so, because I wasn't fluent yet in my frequency abilities, right? I didn't know how to fill back up. I didn't know how to come from a place of generosity. I was coming from a place of neediness myself. And so if that's you, then it's time to really hunker down. Now, one other thing I'll say about all of this is energy evolves. Just like our bodies evolve, energy and frequency evolve. So if that evolution is happening on a physical level, there's energetic evolution as well. So a lot of this 5D stuff, people had a little bit of inkling, or if you're in a real kind of niche, sub-segment, like I was working on this kind of stuff all the way back in the 80s because I was in that niche. But our bodies have been upgraded. This whole pandemic, this whole, all the political stuff, just so many things dropping away, all the fires, all the different things that have been going on. It's actually a major upgrade. And one of the things that's also upgraded is your ability to not only master these 5D abilities, but you need them to function now. It's not like 5 years ago where you kind of could dabble and not and sort of skirt along. Now the masses are coming up for this. So as advanced light workers, as talented energetic leaders, it's really important that you fill up and get yourself fluent so that you want that abundance, you want that right livelihood, which to me, right livelihood is doing work that makes your heart sing, where you make more money than you know what to do with. And that gives you the time as well to enjoy your life. So it's work that makes your heart sing, where you make more money than you know what to do with, because those two things go hand in hand, but time to enjoy yourself as well, right? So it's heart sing, it's money, and it's time. So cash and flow. One of the retreats I'm actually doing in the academy this year for those in the academy is a 5D cash flow retreat. So we're going to do a whole day just all about money and abundance. We have another one. We're going to be doing a message quest. We're doing like very deep connections with your higher self and really kind of going on a deep message, coming in with big questions for your higher self and coming out with those answers. And then the advanced group, we're going to do a mission quest where we're really focused on that bigger mission. These will be, full day retreats. But when it comes to cash flow, when we talk about the cash flow, cash is the 3D. Flow is the 5D. Where people get really confused and they start to get jammed up when it comes to money is they think cash flow is all just 3D. Like, how hard do I have to work? But when you're fluent in that 5D, the flow piece comes in. And you'd be surprised and amazed, and once you're fluent, how that flows. And a lot of people block themselves and say, unless I have cash flow, I can't do X, Y, and Z. And that's not true. Your higher self will always have a way, So all of that being said, your higher self is sending you over 100 messages a day. Those micro decisions, your higher self is weighing in on, letting you know, yes, drink iced tea, no, have water instead. Do the laundry now or do the dishes now. All those little micro decisions, when you start to apply your higher self to that, the conversation gets much deeper and much richer because you're not just waiting for the big emergencies where your 3D anxiety is totally killing the ability for that energy to flow through. Okay? So all that being said, I think we'll stop here for today. I wanted to just get on here and start talking to you a little bit about how life is going to get much easier with fluency, right? And that your messages being blocked doesn't mean, okay, go to a psychic and let them tell you, because if it's blocked to you, it's probably blocked to the psychic too, believe it or not. It's a very interesting process, especially now where all of the energetic evolution has gone. Over the next several weeks, I will be doing, next 2 weeks, I shouldn't say several, I will be doing some interviews for the next batch of folks for our 5D Academy. If you'd like to apply, I would love to hear from you. If you are what you consider, well, I say energetically talented, but energetically aware. If you're listening to this show and you're attracted to this work, you probably have some strong energetic pull on talent, and you feel like you're ready to consider becoming fluent and really stepping in, I would love to hear from you. And you can send us, you can apply at www.theahaway.com/5, the number 5D as in dog, apply. So ahaway.com/5D apply. Fill out the application as thoroughly as you can, and then if it's accepted, then we'll jump on a call, or probably down the road a little bit, we'll do more of a group training. But right now, I'm just going person by person and seeing who would be a great fit. And if it's a great fit, then we'll go through all of the different particulars about it. If not, perfectly fine. But if you're ready, if you feel like, you know what, this really resonates with me, I'm ready to have a big personal mission. There's things I really want to accomplish for myself. There's things that I really want to accomplish in a bigger, broader way for the world. Then we need to talk. We should definitely talk and get you going. So that's www.theahaway.com/5D apply. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of new things in the Academy this year. We start classes in the next week or so, but it's it's okay. The classes are recorded, so if you missed the first week or two, it's fine. It's a rolling admission, but I'm going to be opening another 8 spots. So if you would like one of those spots, I highly suggest you jump on and let us know, and we can get you going. And we're going to be doing some really fun retreats this year. They were just channeled to me, the Message Quest retreat and cash flow, 5D cash flow, and several other amazing things. So we'll get into all of that in the interview. All right? Okay, everybody. I will be back next week with more stuff, more to talk about. Oh, so much stuff going on. So many new things downloading, and I'm really looking forward to that. Now, let me see if I can remember my motto that I always end these shows with. I did this for 8 years, and okay, there it is. Yes. You truly can have exactly what you want. You absolutely deserve it too. And in this new energy, anything is possible. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.